My fiancé said in a mocking tone. You have no identity of your own. People only know you because of me, I replied softly. All right, noted. Over the following days, I stopped going anywhere with her. I completely withdrew myself. Then one day, her closest friend took her aside and told her something. Her face turned pale as she realized who had truly been living in whose shadow. I'm Adrian, 29, and I've been a wildlife photographer for 7 years. Not the type who captures safaris for National Geographic. I focus on urban wildlife, the overlooked things. Foxes in back alleys, hawks building nests on fire escapes, coyotes moving through suburban backyards at first light. My work has appeared in environmental magazines, several gallery exhibitions, and even a short documentary that screened at some film festivals. My fiancée, Natasha, is a lifestyle influencer with 300,000 followers. She has brand partnerships with skincare lines, athleisure wear, and wellness retreats. She's skilled at what she does. Polished, camera-ready, she knows exactly how to position her phone for the ideal image. We met 4 years ago at a mutual friend's rooftop gathering. She found my camera intriguing. I found her confidence captivating. For some time, it worked well. She would occasionally include me in her posts, my talented photographer boyfriend, and I didn't mind. Her audience appeared truly interested in my projects. I'd gain new followers after every post she shared about me. It felt like support. But over the last year, things began to change. She started making small remarks. People only care about your photos because I share them. Or, you realize most of your gallery visitors discovered you through my page, right? I'd dismiss it. Convincing myself, she was just tense about algorithm updates. The remarks grew more common. At coffee shops, she'd introduce me as my photographer instead of using my name. At dinner parties with her influencer circle, she'd interrupt me when I tried to talk about my projects. When I got a feature in Audubon magazine, she posted about it first, presenting it as so proud of what we've accomplished. As if she'd been in the Bronx at 5 a.m. Waiting for that peregrine falcon, I began to notice the pattern. Every success of mine became a reflection of her. Every opportunity I received was somehow tied back to her influence. Her connections, her platform. Then, 3 weeks ago, we were at her friend Bianca's birthday dinner, an upscale spot downtown, the type of place with no prices listed on the menu. Natasha was discussing an upcoming campaign with a luxury wellness brand, how they'd picked her for her genuine voice. I mentioned that I'd just sold a print series to a conservation organization for their yearly report. 15 images capturing the return of river otters to city waterways. It was a significant achievement for me, the kind of work that truly mattered. Natasha hardly glanced up from her phone. That's cute. Bianca, seated across from us, raised her eyebrows. Cute. Adrian, that's impressive. I read about that project in the Times environmental section. You follow that? I asked, surprised. I follow your work, she said plainly. Have for years. Natasha looked at Bianca. Something crossed her face. Then she went back to her phone. Later that night, walking to the car, Natasha turned to me with a slight smile, not a warm one. You know what's funny, she said. What? You behave like you've created this major career, but let's be honest. You have no identity of your own. People only know you because of me. I stopped walking. What did you just say? I'm not trying to be cruel, Adrian. I'm being truthful. Before me, how many followers did you have? Around 800. Now you're at 30,000. You receive gallery invitations because curators follow me. You think that's accidental? The street was silent. A taxi drove by, its lights sweeping over us. You really believe that? I said. It wasn't really a question. It's just facts. Look, I'm not saying you're not skilled. You are. But skill only takes you so far. Visibility matters. Platform matters. And I provided that for you. I looked at her for a long moment. She was already checking comments on her newest post, not even fully engaged in the conversation. I said very quietly, all right, noted. Don't be so sensitive, she said, linking her arm through mine. I'm just saying you should value what you have. What we've created together. I didn't argue. I drove us home in total silence while she hummed to music from her playlist. When we arrived, I went straight to my office and shut the door. The next morning, I made a choice. I wasn't going to have a major argument. I was simply going to stop taking part in her world, stop being an add-on. Stop allowing her to claim credit for what I'd created. She had a brand event that Thursday, some boutique hotel opening. Normally, I'd join her, capture casual shots she could use for her content. This time, when she asked if I was ready, I said, "I'm not going." "What do you mean? I have editing work." "You go ahead, Adrian. I told the brand you'd be there. Then you'll have to explain that I couldn't make it." Her expression changed from confused to annoyed. "This is about what I said the other night, isn't it?" "No, it's about me having work to do. You're being petty." I turned back to my computer. "Think whatever you like." She left alone. She texted me 3 times during the event. I didn't reply. Saturday, she had brunch with her regular group, 6 other influencers. She expected me to join, perhaps take a group picture. "Can't make it," I said. "I have a shoot in the Bronx, Urban Hawks." "Since when?" "Since yesterday." A conservation group contacted me. It wasn't a lie, but I could have rescheduled. I chose not to. Over the next week, I deliberately removed myself from her world. Brand dinners, I had client meetings, gallery openings for her friends, already committed to my own work. Her anniversary post featuring her amazing partner. I asked her not to use my photos. "Why not?" she demanded. "Because I don't want to be featured right now." "That doesn't even make sense, Adrian." "It makes perfect sense to me." By the second week, she was truly upset. We hardly spoke except in short exchanges. One evening, while I was sorting prints, she appeared in the doorway. "You're punishing me," she said. "I'm not." "Yes, you are. Because I told you the truth about how your career developed." I turned to face her. "You didn't tell me the truth, Natasha. You told me your version of reality." "My version? Adrian, the numbers don't lie. Numbers tell part of a story. Not the whole story. You're being impossible, and you're being deliberately blind. You've convinced yourself that you created me. That I'd be nothing without you. You need to believe that because it makes you feel significant. That's not. Yes, it is. So I'm just removing myself from the equation. You wanted me to appreciate what I have. Fine. I'm appreciating it by discovering what's actually mine." She stood there, mouth slightly open, then walked away. I heard the bedroom door close. Around day 10, I received an email from a curator I'd collaborated with 2 years earlier, Lorraine Shun. She ran a respected gallery in Brooklyn. "Adrian, I'm organizing an exhibition on urban wildlife and coexistence. 4 photographers, opening in 3 weeks. Your recent series would fit perfectly." "Interested?" I replied within an hour. Yes, when I mentioned it to Natasha over dinner, takeout, eaten in silence, she actually brightened. "Oh, that's wonderful. I can create a whole story series leading up to the opening. It'll give it great exposure." "Actually," I said, "I'd prefer if you didn't promote it." She froze. "What? I want this one to stand on its own. No promotion from your page." "Adrian, that's crazy. You'd get so much more attention." "I don't need your attention." Her face tightened. "You're being ridiculous. You're literally rejecting free promotion because your ego can't accept that I help you. I'm rejecting it because I want to see what happens when people come because they care about the work. Not because they follow you. This is so stupid. Maybe, but it's my choice." She tossed her food onto the coffee table. "Fine, do it your way. See how many people show up without me spreading the word. I guess we'll find out." 2 days before the gallery opening, Natasha went to lunch with Bianca. They'd been best friends since college. Bianca was a corporate lawyer specializing in environmental law, extremely sharp. I'd always liked her. They were out for 3 hours. When Natasha returned home, she looked like she'd been crying. Eyes red, makeup smeared. She walked straight past me and shut the bedroom door. I gave her space. I made dinner, ate alone, and cleaned up. Around 9, the bedroom door opened. She came out in sweatpants, eyes still swollen. "We need to talk," she said. I turned off the TV. Okay, she sat at the kitchen table, hands clasped. Bianca told me something today. I waited. She said she's been following your work since before we met. She's the one who told me to talk to you at that rooftop party 4 years ago. She recognized you from a gallery show in Chelsea. I didn't respond. She said many people in our circle knew who you were before I ever posted about you. Apparently, that documentary you made, the one about coyotes in Queens, it won a Wild Screen Panda Award. That's a big deal in wildlife filmmaking, right? It's considered prestigious. Yes, I didn't even know you'd won an award. How did I not know that? You never asked. She flinched. Bianca said curators have been interested in you since your first solo show. 6 years ago, 2 years before we met. That's correct. She said I've been walking around acting like I made you, and everyone can see it except me. She said it's embarrassing. That people talk about it. The refrigerator hummed. She said I've been a terrible partner, that I've been belittling you, and I was too self-centered to notice. I leaned back in my chair. And what do you think? I think she's right, Natasha whispered. I went through everything after lunch. Your press mentions exhibition history. Adrian, you've been featured in National Wildlife Audubon magazine. The New York Times did a full profile on you 3 years ago. You've had work in the Smithsonian National Museum of Natural History. 2 prints in their permanent collection. Why didn't you tell me? I did. You said that's cool and then showed me a TikTok of a cat. She covered her face with her hands, started crying again. Bianca asked me if I even knew what you did before we met, and I realized I didn't. I never asked. I just assumed you were some hobbyist who got lucky. And then I came along and turned you into something real. That's exactly what you assumed. I'm so sorry, Adrian. I sat there, watching her cry, feeling less than I expected, just exhausted. Why didn't you correct me? She asked. Every time I said something, why didn't you show me proof? I did correct you, multiple times. You didn't listen. Eventually, I realized you didn't want to listen. You needed to believe I was nothing before you. I really believed it. I genuinely thought I'd built your career. I know you did. Do you still love me? She asked, looking up with devastated eyes. I thought about it, really considered the question. I don't know, I said finally. I don't know if I can love someone who sees me the way you do. I don't anymore. Bianca had to show you. You couldn't see it yourself. Even when I told you, you still thought you were right. It took your best friend explaining it like you're a child for you to even consider that maybe I existed before you. She had no response. The gallery opening was on a Friday night. Clean white walls. Track lighting, wine and cheese. My 20 prints hung carefully, moments of wildness in steel and concrete. Natasha didn't come. She texted that morning. I don't think I should be there. This is yours, you built it, I'm proud of you. I didn't reply, but Bianca came. She showed up with 2 colleagues. She bought one of the prints. A red-tailed hawk on a Bronx apartment railing. Natasha's not doing well, she said while we stood by the wine table. I didn't ask her to fall apart. I know, but she's genuinely devastated. That's not my responsibility, Bianca. I'm not saying it is. I'm just telling you. Around us, the gallery filled. 80, maybe 90 people. Colleagues from conservation groups, other photographers, journalists, curators from larger galleries, a representative from a natural history museum. Not one of them mentioned Natasha. Not one asked where she was. They asked about my process, about the ethics of wildlife photography in urban environments, about future projects. They asked about me. About my work, about what I'd built. And for the first time in over a year, I felt like myself. Update. 2 weeks later, I moved out last Saturday. I found a studio in Bushwick with good north-facing light, enough space for my equipment and a small darkroom. High ceilings, exposed brick, the kind of place I'd always wanted. Natasha didn't fight it. She actually helped me pack. She folded my clothes carefully, wrapped my lenses in bubble wrap. I really am sorry, she said while I loaded boxes into my car. I know that doesn't fix anything. I know you are. Is there any chance we could try again? Eventually, I closed the trunk. I don't think so, Natasha, she nodded, biting her lip. Okay. I understand. I got in my car and drove away. That night in my new empty studio, I uploaded a photo to Instagram. Just one. A fox in an alley, eyes bright, coat brilliant red against gray concrete. The caption, still here, still working. No tags, no mentions, just the work. By morning, it had 6,000 likes. Comments from people I'd never heard of, curators I respected, conservation groups asking about collaborations. A DM from a production company asking about developing a documentary series. Not a single one mentioned Natasha. My phone rang around 10. Unknown number. Adrian, this is Margaret Voss from the Museum of Modern Art. We met briefly at your opening last week. I sat up straight. Yes, of course. I've been thinking about your work. Would you have time to meet next week? We're developing an exhibition on contemporary nature photography, and I think your perspective would be valuable, not as a contributor, as a featured artist. I looked around my empty studio. Sunlight streaming through the windows. Yes, I said, I'd have time for that. After we hung up, I sat there for a while. Then I walked to the window, looked out at Brooklyn spreading below me, buildings and trees and birds and life. My phone buzzed, a text from Bianca. Saw your post, Fox is perfect. Proud of you, I smiled, typed back. Thanks for telling her the truth. Her response came immediately. Someone had to. She was living in a fantasy. So was I for a while, not anymore though. No, not anymore. I set the phone down and got back to work.